Well, usually when I go into these transfer specials, I have a vague idea of how long the video is likely to be. I have absolutely no idea today. This could be a 15-minute season review that has no transfers in it because we have no transfer budget. It could be an hour-long video where we sell 6 first-teamers and rebuild the entire squad. I guess you already know because you can see how long the video is, but I don't know what to expect going into this, which is a little bit of a worry. But also, one more reminder, Holme shirts. Today's your last chance. If you're watching this video, the day it comes out, you can buy one. If you're watching it any other day for the rest of time, you can't. Link is down in the description. And if you are in the future, they were great, but you can't have them anymore. They don't exist. Hello and welcome to part 210 of It's Coming Home. I'm Kevin. Coming up on today's episode, we have that season review and transfer special that I was just talking about. We're going to kick things off with the season review, the transfer side of things. Just to confirm, there is no transfer budget. There is a lot of wage budget. So actually, if we wanted to wiggle stuff around a little bit, we could potentially bring someone in on £150,000 a week that we spent £24 million on. So there are ways and means to bring players in, but we need to be aware of financial fair play and probably avoid doing that. There are a number of players we'd like to move on as well, but none of them I particularly want to move on cheaply because, again, we've got that to worry about. We've got that to think of. So the likes of Costa, Cristiano, Maya, there's more. One of the goalkeepers. There's lots of players who could move on if we get the right offers for them. I don't intend to sell any of them cheaply, though. This is what I mean about the transfer window kind of being a little bit out of my hands, because if we don't get any big offers for the players we want to sell, we'll do no business. It's going to be an interesting one, but let's do the season review first. So, kicking things off with Mira winning the Premier League Player of the Year, quite rightly too. 33 appearances, 28 goals, 11 assists. Mira surely at this point has to be odds-on favourite to win the Ballon d'Or this year. If he starts next season the way he's ended this one, bearing in mind he missed out to Thor this time around, the player he's been keeping out of our team, Mira surely is going to be the best player in the world, if not already there. Interestingly as well, he's made it up to icon status on here, and I think there's a good chance if he does go on and have another good season, let's say we win the Champions League next year with Mira scoring 30 goals again, I think Mira joins me on the legends list at that point, and then it's between me and him in a fist fight to see who gets the new stadium named after them. He also won the Players Player of the Year, Premier League top goal scorer, with Thor coming second. Bearing in mind we play a one striker system, that is an absolutely sensational screenshot. Mira first with 28 goals, Thor second with 22 goals. We've got the two best strikers in the world. We just haven't figured out a way to get them to play together. Mira also picking up Young Player of the Year because he's still only 24. I got Manager of the Year. This was the Team of the Year, containing Alef, Juranovic, Lee, Zupancic, Goff, Thor and Mira, and lots of bonuses paid out to players who've got bonuses for things. Mark Alef having a nice summer with his £275,000 bonus for being in the Team of the Year. Lucky, lucky boy. Right, we haven't had our Team of the Year stuff, have we? Let's fast forward until we get to our season review, and then we'll start thinking about transfers. We're not thinking about transfers yet. Here we go then into the home end of season awards. And of course, Mira picking up our Player of the Year award as well with 56% of the vote. Alice second place, Lee third. John Goff with the goal of the season from way back in August. Let's have a little look at the goal of the season. How is the amount of goals Thor and Mira scored between them? I find it baffling. Neither of them have managed to pick up goal of the year, but let's have a look at this from Goff. So Cristiano picks it up in midfield, plays it forward to Goff, who's in a weird position for a goal of the season, although to be fair, that's on his weak foot, and that's a nice goal. I'll let him have that. Carlos Augusto getting signing of the season for $13.25 million, still only 19. He is going to be an absolute superstar, and Mira getting Young Player of the Year. So our Team of the season, Powell in goal, a back four of Alef, Juranovic, Lee, and interestingly, Joksimovic ahead of Maya in the Team of the Year, despite only playing 16 games in all competitions. But he's played very well in them. I think he's our number one. I mean, both fullback positions. We've talked about selling older players. We've got Candemill, Beron, and Mayer all sat around in the squad, all in their like late 20s, 28, 29 years old, all three of them, or maybe even 30 for Mayer, and all of them not making it into the team of the year. But interestingly, in those big games, I still play them. The game is trying to tell me something. Cristiano and Zupancic in midfield. So almost as interesting as Joksimovic getting in at right back is the fact that Bogarski doesn't get in central midfield when I probably would have put him there. And then Sorelio, Drame and Goff behind Mira up front. So no room in the team of the year for Thor. Shows how good we are going forward. So all the individual awards, they're all going to Mira. He won top goal scorer with 31 goals, highest average rating at 7.5, most assists at 14. I mean, he's been involved in 45 goals this season. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's Messi and Ronaldo levels of ridiculous from Mira now, and he's still only 24. Cristiano, best pass completion as usual. Mira, most man of the match awards. Cristiano, most yellow cards. And for the second season in a row, I think, not a single red card all season. We're not naughty boys anymore. We don't have any rascals in the team. Perhaps that's what we need. Perhaps we need a rascal. Perhaps we need someone who's going to get sent off a couple of times a year. But when we play against the likes of Inter in a Champions League quarter-final, he's going to kick lumps out of them. Perhaps that's exactly what we're missing. The game's telling me something again. Season review. I mean, it's a good season. We've won the Premier League 4 seasons in a row. I know we're all a little bit disappointed about what's been going on in the Champions League, but we're home and we've won the Premier League 4 years in a row. So, to me, that's always going to be a good season. This was the team of 2024. So this is the side that won promotion from League 2. So with Shane Phillips and David Sawinski. We haven't checked in on David Sawinski for ages. What's he up to now? Now playing for Western Sydney. All of our youngsters seem to end up in Australia at some point, and I don't really know why. So he was with us on loan for a long time. Obviously came through our youth system, but ended up being sold to Leeds. Never actually played a game for Leeds. Was on loan with us for 5 years before going to Rotherham because we couldn't afford to bring him in permanently. I think at the time he wanted £10,000 a week when we were still in the Championship. So he went to Rotherham, where he's had a long and successful career and is now headed out to Western Sydney. We need to be keeping an eye on him for staff positions because they do always come home, and it would be nice to bring David Sawinski back. Shane Phillips still managing the England under-21s, which I just think is absolutely awesome. Ben Richardson, I don't even remember who he is. Lerick Fernandez obviously is part of our youth setup, under-18s coach for us, and then all of these players now retired. That's how far into the future we're getting. So Civita, Tanner, Proctor, Santos, Weber, Pendlebury, Connor Stanley, Tyler, Samick Powell, Collar, Daly Campbell, Pugh, Ainley, and good old Prince Chiddy, all now retired. What a team that was. Squad dynamics. Our team leaders, Lee, Candemill and Goff. So we need to be careful about moving players on. Candemill, I said it the last couple of seasons, I think is worth keeping around just because he's the youngest of the three older defenders we were just talking about. Candemill, still only 28 years old, still club captain, still has a lot to offer. He's still a very, very good fullback. So I think there's reasons to keep him around. But Mayer, maybe, I mean, he's not a team leader. He's now 30. He's still a very good right back. But I think we cash in on him while we can, and it doesn't harm the team setup too much because he's not a team leader. And likewise with Baron, who is now 29, and yeah, I mean, again, still a very good defender, but didn't play a lot of games last year. Came in for the big games and really let us down, and only the fourth best defender at the club. Stoyan in the youths is in the youths. Pavel Stoyan now almost as good as Baron, and I guess similarly to what we did with Juranovic like 2-3 years ago now. It probably is time to get someone out of the way, to get Stoyan into that first team squad as our fourth centre-back. At the time we moved Dianzi to Manchester United to make room for Juranovic, everyone thought I was crazy. But now we've got one of the best defenders in the Premier League, and he came through our youth setup via Partizan. But, you know, our youth setup, he played for our under-23s, just like Stoyan has. So I think Baron is a high priority to get rid of. And then end of season team meeting. Congratulations on winning the title. Let's go do it again. End of season confidence review. I mean, why are we down here? They want the Champions League as much as you lot do at this point, I think. And that's fine for pre-season stuff. So I am tempted to put Beron on the transfer list. The only issue I think with that is we then won't get anywhere near his value. Why is this all messed up? Auto size all columns. There we go. So if we sort by ability, I think we have to make room for Radovic in goal. So Powell is 32 and Holme always has to have a Powell, but he's a World Cup winner and he is better than Becker. Becker is just Saidi Mark II, isn't he? I think it's time to move Becker on. I'm not going to be transfer listing these players, but I am going to offer them out. So right back. Right back, obviously I want to keep Joksimovic as our first choice, I think, or have him as our first choice. He's 21 now. It is his time, but we don't really have a backup option. So if we move Mayer on, we do need to go and sign a right back, a younger right back for Joksimovic to be his backup, because we don't want to bring someone in over his head, or else we've not really gained anything. So there's, I mean, that is an argument to keep Mayer around, but £225,000 a week for a 30-year-old who's going to be a backup player is the argument to move him on. So let's move him on. Left back, I think I've talked myself into keeping Candemill. We've got Aleph, we've got Candemill, but again, not much in the way of players behind them. Crawford is a centre-back. I think Kyle Swan is a right-back. He was player of the season for the under-23s, so I guess you could argue he could be Joksimovic's backup, but I really don't think he's ready to be playing Champions League football, currently operating at championship level. Maybe one more year and Kyle Swan can come into our team. He's a lad who we brought in from Reading a couple of years ago. So perhaps if we don't get a good offer for Mayer, we keep him for one more year and then Swan gets promoted into the first team squad next year when he's maybe ready to play there. Perhaps he needs a season out on loan in the Championship, as much as I would like him to be classed as homegrown at the club. Although, to be honest, he's had 2 full seasons with us now, because we signed him when he was 17. He's 19. He could go and have a season on loan in the Championship, come back to us for one more year and still be homegrown at club, I think. Is that how it works? He'll have had 3 years with us before the age of 21. So perhaps this is the year for Kyle Swan to go out on loan to a good Championship club. And then if we go forward... Oh, no, centre-back. We haven't looked at centre-back. And centre-back, we know we need to move Baron on. He's reacted badly to my latest chat. Wants to be given more first-team football. No, I think we're done. We're done, Alan. I mean, we paid £80 million for him just a few years ago. He's only worth 34.5 now. I doubt we're even going to get that for him. If we can get 20-25 million for Baron, then I guess he'll go down as one of the worst signings in the history of the club for value, even though, if we have a look on here, he's a club icon. The fans love him and continue to love him. Hervé is a difficult case because he's wanted by some big clubs. He is 26 now, so at age 26 with no more potential, he's never going to be a first-team starter, but he's a very solid player to have as backup for Lee and Juranovic. And I think if we sell Baron and Hervé, we have to bring in an established centre-back as a third option behind these two. Whereas by moving Baron on this summer and moving Stoyan up, Hervé can go next summer. We move Babaru up. And then we're kind of getting the youngsters into the team gradually. The only problem is, obviously, Hervé is the one that's got interest and we could actually get some value for this year, whereas maybe we can't next year, and there's no interest in Baron. So we might end up selling Hervé and keeping Baron through no fault of my own. And as ever, there's interest in Lee, but Lee isn't going anywhere. He's 28 years old. He must be closing in on testimonial territory. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years now. So 2 more years until he qualifies for a testimonial. He's also closing in on the all-time record appearance record at the club, which is held by Sir Mick Powell on 398 appearances for Sir Mick Powell. If we go back and have another look at Lee, does it tell us how many games he's played for us? If we go onto his biography, somewhere in here, it will tell us how many games he's... Oh, there you go. No, that's internationals. 206. Oh, it's only 266 league appearances. So to be honest, he needs to be a first team regular for another 4 or 5 years if he's going to break that record. So maybe Sir Mick Powell's record will never be beaten because he started with us so young. Moving into midfield, obviously Zupancic, Bogarski, we know they're going to be our first choice. Cristiano, for the similar reasons to Maya, he's age 30, he's on nearly 300 grand a week. I think it is time to move him on. As much as if he was on 50 grand a week, I'd keep him around for competition. I think we need to move him on. Slomer can move into the rotation midfield 3. We've got Arsene Diaby coming through as well. He played a few games last year and looks like he's going to be a superb player. There's been a few people saying we need a tough tackling midfielder. I think we already have him. I think it's this guy. And we just need to play him in that role. But I think, I don't know, ball-winning midfielder, he doesn't really suit a ball-winning midfielder, apparently. I think ultimately he needs to be our box-to-box midfielder. Zupancic is going to have to suck it up and play as a deep-lying playmaker. I mean, to be fair, he's supposedly better at it, but he's always more effective as the box-to-box midfielder. But I think Zupancic is the playmaker, Bogarski is the box-to-box, is where we go. Slomer and Diaby as backups. But then I guess it's a similar situation to what we've got in defence. Is Slomer good enough to be in that rotation? I guess if Hervé is, Slomer is, because they're both 3-star players. Slomer's never going to be a world superstar, but similar to Hervé, he's going to be a useful player to have around. I think if we end up with a bunch of money knocking around the place, central midfield is probably where it needs to be invested. Having effectively Zupancic and a bunch of kids isn't ideal, and I think that's probably where we're losing our big games. Attacking midfield, we know we need to move on Robert Costa because he's done, he's broken, he's finished. He's in constant decline. He's 30 years old. He's on 200 grand a week. He was injured all season. His ankles are being held on by like Pritt stick. The amount of ankle injuries that man has had over the course of the last 12 months. He's got to go. Dramé is fine. Where's Mendes? Mendes is fine. We've got Gabory. We've got Salis. We've got a lot of young players. Jamie Allen. We've got a lot of young attacking midfielders. But again, similar to central midfield, without Costa, we don't really have a world-class one. So I think the perfect scenario is we sell £300 or £400 million worth of a player, which ain't going to happen, and then go and spend £80 million on a world-class player who's natural at central midfield and attacking midfield. That would be perfect. I imagine such a player doesn't exist, but we'd like to move Costa on. If we have a look at the left wing, we know our best... I mean... Our 2 best left wingers are both strikers. Mira, in fact, 3. Mira, Augusto, Thor, Zupancic even is supposedly better than Cerello. Diarra is on his way through, and then we've got youngsters behind Diarra as well. I think in light of this, and with Diarra there, at age 29, we move Cerello on for £250,000 a week, and we see if anyone's interested in him. On the right-hand side, this is where I change my policy up slightly because I can't bring myself to sell John Goff. Even though he's on £220,000 a week and he's 30 and not a guaranteed starter, he's just one of the best players in the world. And I like having Flager and Goff as competition on that side. Yes, they're both getting on a bit, 29 and 30. Yes, they are getting in the way of Gain, who is a youngster who we've had for a little while, but his potential is gradually drifting away. So I do think he perhaps isn't going to make it. If we're moving on a lot of players this summer and we don't have an obvious star coming through as a replacement on that side, I think we can keep both of them and not feel too bad about it. And then up front, we've got Mira, we've got Augusto, we've got Thor. I think that means we move on Ben Young. As useful as it is having a player who can play in all those different positions, with Augusto coming in, he's not been as useful as he was the season before because he isn't getting to play as a striker really, unless we play 2 up top, and we're not messing around with that anymore. And with there being interest shown in him, if we can get anywhere near his value, I think he's a luxury that we don't necessarily need. So that is a lot of players we've just offered out to clubs. It's going to be interesting to see what kind of offers come in. Oh good, we've upset everybody. I was hoping that would be the case. So Maya, come on John, you sort him out for me. There you go, Maya's fine. Cristiano, Candemille's going to sort him out for me. Nope. Right. We've got to have a difficult conversation with Cristiano then. I think it's the right thing to do at this point of your career. I think it is. I've got a better grasp on what's good for my career. I'd really rather avoid a confrontation here. If you felt it was forcing him out, I don't want to force him out of the club, but at the same time, I need to... He's 30 years old. He's on a lot of money. But he's just had the best season he's ever had for us. But he only played half the games. He's a really handy player to have around. But he's so expensive. No, I'm just going to tell him, you're done. He's probably going to end up on the transfer list and we're not going to get as much money for him. Siriello, another one who's upset. Can Candamill sort him out? Yes, he can. Manchester City have made a really low offer for Ben Young, which we're going to reject because we paid £50 million for him. He's an elite striker. He's valued at 65 million. Man City have got money. They can come back and offer what he's actually worth, or they can not have him. They're our big rivals. As much as we don't need him because he's a luxury, we also don't need him playing for them and scoring 30 goals for them this season, playing up alongside Thompson. Ben Young wants to go to Manchester City. Of course he does. Of course he does. Right. They didn't offer enough money. The finances weren't right on the deal they were offering. So I would like £80 million. Yeah, I'll agree on 68. So if we get any offers for 68 million for Ben Young, we sell him and then giggle about it, because that would be, as much as Baron will go down as a terrible piece of business, Ben Young, if we turn a profit on Ben Young after 2 years of him starting maybe 4 games, then that's the deal of the century, and I'm a transfer genius. Just as some further proof that the board are crazy and it's not just me, this is our commercial summary. We've got a tiny little increase in sponsorships, but the board have stuck more money into the club and then immediately spent £30 million on raising our youth category. We're £200 million in debt, and they spend money as crazily as I do. Right, I don't necessarily need any of them to be actively seeking moves at the moment. We'll wait and see how summer pans out. Like I say, I'm not desperate to sell any of them. But they're the ones who, if offers come in, if they're the right offers, we'll let them go. But they have to be the right offers, because then they're going to be difficult to replace. If we have a look, one thing we haven't looked at is how much money we get. So 35% of transfer revenue. So using Ben Young as an example, us selling him for 38 million, by the time we've paid him his cut and his agent his cut and whatever else it might be, we're going to end up with about £8 million in our budget for a player so we're going to lose a £50 million player and get £8 million to spend, which I know this isn't necessarily about finding money to spend. I mean, he's going to be in the team once Beckhart goes, but I'll tick that for now. It just... Oh, I've upset him. No, you can come back into the first team. There you go. We need fair prices for these players. We don't need to sell anybody. Our years of transfer debt are nearly over. The board are willing to keep pouring money into the club. The projection isn't as disastrous as it's been in the past. We will get out of the mess on our own. We don't have to sell. We certainly don't have to sell super cheap. That's what I'm thinking anyway. Well, this is a sad day for Holme Football Club. David Moss, who's been our director of football since the great staff clear out of... In fact, no, he was the year later, wasn't he? We had the great staff clear out in 2030. David Moss came in the following year because Tom Heaton was in between, I think. Was that this save? Or was Tom Heaton my director of football in a different save? But he's been with us for 10 years after we poached him from McDonald's just after we started. we took their ground. We took their director of football. But he's the man who found a few of our stars. He found, I know the big one that he's brought in recently was the goalkeeper, Radovic, the young goalkeeper, plus the 2 Portuguese players last summer who might end up being any good. But David Moss has retired. We are in the market for a new director of football. In other news, it has been brought to my attention that Hervé's contract was up next summer, so we've offered him a new one. Where is he? Hervé. There he is. I don't know if he's going to sign it. If he signs the new contract, then we're at least committing to keeping him for another year. If he doesn't, then it kind of becomes a higher priority to sell him rather than Baron, because we don't want to let him go for free next year. So Hervé and Baron, might swap places in my pecking order depending on how these contract negotiations go. The applicants are in for the director of football job. Interestingly, see Tom Heaton back on the application list. The man who found Chardonnay Matondo for us. I remember now. He was here way back when. I don't think Tom Heaton is at our level anymore. But there's some very interesting names on this list. I'm going to have a rummage through and see. This guy wants the job. Where is he? Kraev. I don't think so. Bozidar. I'm going to have a nose for it. It'd be quite nice to just take the director of football off of Barcelona or Manchester United or someone of that kind. Oh, hello. So you've applied for the job. Previously of Southampton, Valencia, Juventus, and he's got a 20 and 20. I mean, he just seems like the obvious choice for our new director of football. If we want to be the best team in the world, we need to have the best director of football in the world. Pablo Longoria. Welcome to home, hopefully, as long as you accept the contract. And we've got scouts turning down moves to Manchester United. This is all good stuff. Boo! The search for a new director of football continues. Where was that list that I had before? No, it's not on there. Still no director of football, but this is an interesting thing, I think, because this feeds into some of the stuff that's been discussed in the comments about where we are in the world footballing stature thing. We are the highest reputation club in England now, and the nearest Premier League club to us is Manchester United, all the way down here, Manchester City. It's weird because the Premier League is still the highest ranked league, but we're only, 8th or 9th? So Barcelona, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, Paris Saint-Germain, Atletico Madrid, Monaco and Schalke all considered bigger clubs than us, and we've had a slight reputation boost as well. So presumably the likes of Inter, Espanyol, Dortmund, these are all teams that probably were of a higher reputation than us previously. I don't know what's happened to English clubs, but we seem to have plummeted, which kind of explains why we're completely dominating the Premier League but not really competing in the Champions League. Because as soon as we come up against one of these teams, I mean, we did beat Espanyol, to be fair, but we've had trouble with Dortmund and Schalke and Bayern Munich and Inter. And that's why, because they're bigger and better clubs than we are. Well, we have our new director of football, not quite as glamorous as stealing somebody off of Barcelona or Manchester United or Bayern Munich, but he's good. 18 on judging ability and potential. Stuart Weber from Norwich, where he's been since the start of the game. He's then real-life director of football, it seems. Previously of Huddersfield, Wolves, QPR, Liverpool, Wrexham, been with Norwich for a long time. Now, age 57, he's come home. And fingers crossed, he's got the hookup on some awesome players that we can bring in for no money. Failing that, hopefully he's good at getting good money for the players that we don't want anymore. We have had 1 or 2 offers for players over the course of the summer. They're not showing on there, but they're players we wouldn't want to sell. Paris Saint-Germain are chasing Lee, but only offering about 80 million for him. And I don't think there's a price I would sell him for. Leicester are coming in for Miro. They've been linked with him for so long. But again, there's not a price I would sell Miro for. And we haven't really had any offers for anyone that we'd actually want to sell. So as it stands right now, on the 29th of June, it's looking like it might be a quiet summer. So we've got no money to bring anybody in. And none of the players that we want rid of, anyone wants, it seems. So maybe a quiet summer. Right, we've hit the 1st of July and I've made the decision to transfer list some of these players. It doesn't mean we're not going to get as much money for them. We're still not going to accept silly offers, but now on the transfer list we have Beckhardt, Beron, Ciriello, Costa and Ben Young. So Meyer, Cristiano, Candemil all escape the transfer list because I don't actively want rid of them. I'd just accept offers for them, but the others, I think I actively want rid of them. Ciriello's in the way of Diarra. Young is just a 4th striker that we don't really need. Beron is in the way of the youngsters that we were looking at before. Beckhardt's in the way of a youngster. Plus, they're all back at players. Robert Costa as well on the transfer list. He's now a 2.5-star player. Robert Costa is now the worst player in our first team squad. It's so sad to see because he was so good. But injuries have just killed him. In one season, injuries have ruined him. So we've got to try and get some money back on him. I think we might struggle. We've got 2 more years of paying him 200 grand a week when I mean, hopefully there'll be a newly promoted Premier League side who'll give us 15 million quid for him. But let's see if we get any offers now these players are on the transfer list. Well, that's the first one gone. Beckhardt has gone to Borussia Mönchengladbach, and as part of the parting comment said he'd never return to home while I was manager. The feeling's mutual, you bumhead. Apparently we've fallen out and I didn't even realise it. We gave him a big bunch of money to go as well, which just seems unreasonable. But what that means is our goalkeeping situation, if we have a look at the team report, in fact we need to move Radovic back up to the first team again, because obviously he is now going to be sitting on our bench next season. So how do I do that? Where's the squads? Squads. You can tell I don't do this very often. There you go, move to senior squad. So he is now going to sit on our bench for next season. I don't think we've lost anything by losing Beckhardt, but we do now have potentially a little bit of money to spend. So we'll see how many more of the transfer listed players leave before deciding if we're going to spend. But I suggest at this point we're probably going to do some spending. I don't think I've ever been more furious with a football player than I am with Robert Costa right now. We had a deal agreed for him to go to Newcastle for £48 million. We were still paying 60 grand a week of his wages, and he's turned it down. He's on the transfer list. What is he thinking? We offer him out again. I am furious with that man. At least Ciriello. Leicester are giving us £69 million for Ciriello, who... There you go.
Okay. I found this on the web for Yellow. Leicester given us 69 million British pounds for Ciriello, who check it out.
Apparently I mentioned Siri's name at some point in there. Shut up, Siri. Ciriello is gone. Or he's going. Paul Lyons. Who's Paul Lyons? Young right winger. Not any good. He can go out on loan. That's absolutely fine. New contracts. Removed from transfer list. No. New contracts. Who is this guy? Ribeiro. Is this the Portuguese lad from last summer? 5-star potential. Yes, definitely. 54 grand a week? 54 grand a week? Mind you, he's done a bit of a Mick Powell looking at that. He's gone past Diaby. He's now level with Slomer and Bogarski. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough then. You've done a Mick Powell. You can have Mick Powell money. That seems reasonable to me. We've got a new midfielder who's just absolutely appeared from nowhere. Fantastic. How can one player go from being a hero to an absolute turd that quickly? Is he aware of what's been happening over the last year? He's now not turning up to training. Just 2 weeks' wages. That's made us 400 grand. Now do you want to go to Newcastle? Idiot. The clear out continues. Beron has gone to Juventus for £31.5 million, despite earlier on in the window them making a non-negotiable £8.5 million offer. We have managed to force them up a little bit. We've still lost a lot of money on him. In fact, looking back at our previous transfer windows, I will finally acknowledge I had one bad one, and it was this one. The one where we spent, I mean, how much did we spend? We can't even scroll that for some reason, and I don't know why. To be fair, it's the one where we signed Thor and Diarra, so it wasn't terrible, but we did sign Ciriello, who we've now sold. We signed Beron, who we've now sold. Okay, we signed Goff as well, and so it wasn't even that bad. Joksimovic came in then too. But two of the players who came in relatively recently have now been moved on at a loss. Ciriello, a slight loss. Beron, a big loss. But yeah, it does mean we've got some decent money knocking around the place again, which is why I'm going to spend £100 million, because I'm Kev. Robert is, I think, the missing piece of the jigsaw. He's a defensive midfielder, central midfielder. Can also play centre-back as well. 6'2", strong, good tackle, goodish tackle, works. Just basically a complete central midfielder, but with a more defensive leaning. But the important thing is he's also a natural at playing as a defensive midfielder. So by having a player like him around the club, it gives us the option in those big games like Inter away, like a Champions League final against a team better than us, to maybe take Drame or Mendes, whoever's playing as the attacking midfielder, take them out of the team and play Robert behind a central midfield too. But he's also completely natural playing in central midfield as well. He is an elite midfield player, one of the best midfielders in the world. Scores goals, creates goals, always in good form for Atletico Madrid. Yes, he's costing us £97 million, but I think we've just signed one of the best midfield players in the world, and I feel like that was potentially the missing piece of the puzzle. Bogarski's obviously not that happy about it, but perhaps Candemil can calm him down. Nope. Bogarski, how you doing? This doesn't need to be a major issue, but I'm a little concerned that my place might be under threat. Don't worry, I'm not signing him. I kind of am. I know where you're coming from. Competition for places is healthy, and I want you to stake a claim for a regular place. Tell me what to do in order to meet your standards. You need to force Zupančić out of the team, basically. I'd like to midfield. I want to see you working a lot harder as a midfielder. It's crucial you give 110% in every match. You need to improve your work rate. I mean, none of this. Just play well. Why isn't just play well an option? If you play well, you'll be in the team. I don't need any of this stuff. Let's say work hard. Oh, see, I've upset him now. Because he doesn't need to work harder. He already works hard. He'll just have to play well. He'll be fine. But this is Robert. Let's get him in the training squad. Look, he's a proper 5-star player. We've just signed a 5-star central midfield player. Let's give him a squad number. Number 14. There you go. And make sure he fits into squad registration, which I'm sure he does. And there we have it. One of the best midfielders in the world. The new best midfielder at the club. There is now a really strong argument for moving Cristiano on, because obviously we've got Bogarski, Ribeiro, Sloma, Diaby, all as options behind these three. But I know we didn't necessarily need to go and spend money, but I think that's my marquee signing of the summer. That's what I'm using to appease the fans for letting so many players go. So that's the transfer window so far. We are running at a profit, albeit a small one. Beckett, Ceriello and Beron all gone. Robert in. There should be a couple more leaving. Hopefully Costa goes. Ben Young probably needs to go as well. And maybe Cristiano. I'd like to get that number up closer to 250, 300 million if I can. And I don't think we need to bring anyone else in. There's probably another 30 minutes left on the video, isn't there? We've been here before. Well, I may be done making signings, but my new director of football clearly isn't. He's brought in this guy, Alexander Sinabad, who is a Serbian 20-year-old under-21 international right-hand side player. He can play on the right midfield, right wing, right back. That's obviously where his future for me is going to be, because he's a little bit too defensive to be a winger in my team, but he's super quick, has decent potential. I don't really know how he fits into our squad, but he's come in as a hot prospect for the future, so even if he never plays a game, for that kind of price, he's the kind of player we'll probably sell on at a profit. He's never going to become homegrown, so I'm not against loaning him out immediately and just see if he forces his way into the team somehow. We're going to get him training as a right back, and he might be the man who can be the backup player to Joksimovic when we let Maya go probably next summer. So it might all work out. New director of football man decided he wanted to have a backup goalkeeper, or a third choice goalkeeper in effect. Theo Loren comes in, former French under-21 international, not any good, not even as good as Radovic. It's fine. We've got Luke Keane knocking around the place as well, who we signed from Fulham years ago now, and I think is now classed as homegrown here. He is. Excellent. So I guess he's officially our third choice, but Laurent is just there as an extra body to play in goal. I mean, we might loan Keane out. So in that case, we do need to have three keepers. So I'm not against bringing him in. I wouldn't have signed him myself, but got to back my director of football and let him do his thing occasionally. That being said, the next one he's trying to bring in, I am going to just say no, because he's trying to bring in a left winger, a 29-year-old left winger who is maybe as good as Diarra. We just sold Ceriello. There's no point bringing in another winger to get in Diarra's way when we've still got Mira, Thor, Augusto who can all play on that wing. We've still got Ben Young at the club at the moment who can play on that wing. So we definitely don't want to be bringing in not good enough wingers. One thing I have done is flipped the tactic that way. So rather than having him as an attacking, him as support, because that's likely to be Mira quite a lot with Thor up front, I've made this the attacking side. So I've swapped everything else around. Our playmaker and defensive has gone in there to cover for him. He's dropping a little bit deeper. He's pushing on a bit. I might switch it back round again if we end up going with Diarra. But I feel like at the moment I'm probably leaning towards a first choice team that has Thor up front and Mira on the wing. That's obviously subject to change. Well, we've got about 3 or 4 days of the transfer window left. It doesn't look like anything else is going to happen. We've bought our player. We've sold those players. We still have 3 players we're actively trying to get rid of. Costa, Cristiano and Young. Bogarski is still in a grumpy because we signed Robert. I think he'll calm down once Cristiano goes, if Cristiano goes, because that's one player, in theory, ahead of him on the pecking order, in and one out. But that's a problem because I do want him to be a key part of the team, but not if he's grumpy. It is Champions League, Community Shield, Charity Shield Day though. It's a transfer special tradition now, and we do have our slightly new look home team. Familiar players, mostly, but playing in a slightly different way, a slightly different shape. So now Maya is the attacking fullback with Aleph sitting a little bit deeper. We've got Robert in the middle of midfield as a ball-winning midfielder on defend, alongside Zupancic as a box-to-box midfielder. I think Bogarski could come in for either of those. So our playmaker moves out of the middle of midfield and drops in behind the striker in the shape of Mendes. Dramé could be interchangeable with him there, but Mendes has done a bit of a Mick Powell over the summer. He's signed a big boy, big money contract, and he is officially the best attacking midfielder at the club now. So Mendes, as the chap pulling the strings for these 3, is the plan. Goff gets to drop a little bit deeper as a winger on support. Mira as a Raumdeuter on attack. We've been training him there all summer. Fingers crossed he can do it. He's been in sensational form in the friendlies playing as a Raumdeuter. So let's see how he is against Premier League opposition. But my theory is that gets him up even closer to Thor, who's going to be playing as our complete forward up front. I think that looks like a decent team. One thing I haven't done is set piece takers. Although it looks like because we've changed the tactic around, the game has done it automatically for me, and that all looks acceptable. So I'm just going to leave it alone and not fiddle with it. I'll fiddle with it before the next episode, but for now we all want to see a football match and see how our new look team gets on. I think we look like a stronger side, even though we've sold some key players. The important thing is Costa is fully fit but nowhere near that bench. Cristiano fully fit but nowhere near that bench. So I'm hoping that will send a bit of a message to both of them that they don't have a future here. they need to move on. Ben Young, I'm less desperate to move Ben Young on. Ben Young is really a victim of circumstance. I didn't intend to find a Brazilian wonder kid of the standard of Carlos Augusto. It kind of happened by accident. He was cheap. He came up on a scout report and I couldn't resist. Otherwise, Young would have been sat on that bench forevermore as per the original plan. Well, pushing Mayer a bit further forward has worked a treat. If you remember, Mayer's first season was when he exploded onto the scene in English football, playing as the more attacking of the 2 fullbacks. Really, I mean, he was never quite the same, sitting a little bit deeper, but Candemil was so good that I wanted to push him on. Aleph is so good, I wanted to push him on, but with switching Mira around to basically being a second striker, although he's theoretically playing out on the wing, he's effectively a second striker as a Raumdeuter. I didn't want Aleph pushing on to basically be a winger next to him as well. So it made sense to switch it around a little bit. Here's our first look at Robert in midfield. Plays it across to Zupancic. Zupancic has got Aleph as an option but finds Mendes. Can't get the shot away, finds Goff. Goff's got Mayer as an option but finds Robert. Robert sitting a little bit deeper. That's what we want him to be doing. In that middle of that midfield, just running around a lot and kicking people a lot. That's his job. There is more to his game than that. He is, as we saw when we signed him, he can score goals, he can create goals. He is a skillful, creative player. But I'm not bothered about any of that. I want both Robert and Zupancic to just run around a lot and kick people a lot, to stop us being torn apart in midfield the way we have been in the Champions League for a couple of years now. Maya with the cross for Thor, and Thor hits the top of the crossbar with his looping header, and it's still 1-0. Of course, Saidi in goal again for Brighton with a Camo up front. It's a home reunion going on. Goff with the free kick goes just over. Goff came back from England duty in the summer carrying a little bit of a knock, so I don't expect Goff to play the entire game today or be necessarily at his best. We've got Flager available to come on, and he will come on in the second half. Most of the players that are on the bench will come on in the second half. It's the way not the Champions League. Why do I keep calling it the Champions League? The Charity Shield works. Robert, out to Maya. Maya beats his man and scores. Remember when he used to do that all the time? That first season, Maya got like 10 goals from right back, pushing forward and doing that. Perhaps this is all he's needed. This is his new lease of life. He's playing as our attacking fullback again. And it's the same Maya that, I remember repeatedly describing him as the best player at the club when he first arrived. He's had a quiet 5 years since then, just being a defender. But now he's an attacker again. And look at that for a first half. Sat on an 8.4, 1 goal, 1 assist. That was the season. There you go. 7 goals he got that season, and he was brilliant. Since then, the following 5 years, he's played a support role. Imagine if we get another 7.35 season out of him. To be fair to him, he's not been bad the last couple of seasons, but he's not been a goal threat, and he's definitely been a goal threat in that first half. Right, don't let performance levels drop. Let's just have a look at fitness levels, particularly Goff. To be fair, he's 100% match fit. We won't make any changes for now, but I definitely want to give Diarra some good game time. I want to give Augusto some good game time. I think, in fact, that is the one change I'll make at half-time. We'll get Radovic on in goal for the second half, because we may as well have a little look at him. He made his Premier League debut in the last game of last season. He is now firmly our bench warmer, but I want to send a message to Powell that, for as long as Powell's been at the club, he's always had to compete for the shirt. I want to make it clear to him he's still competing for the shirt this season. Radovic is going to take it off him at some point. And Mendes has just got his first goal of the season. Mendes, who I still think he probably feels a little bit hard done by for last year, was very good the season before. Didn't really get much of an opportunity last year when we very much went with Drame. This is the year. This is the year of Mendes. I want Mendes to emerge as the real superstar replacement for Costa. We'll see how he gets on. I hope he's good. Robert, missing out on a tackle. That's not what he's there. There you go. That's what he's there to do. Crunching tackles. We get it from Bogarski, and now we're going to get it from Robert as well. And it's going to be, I think that's going to be the difference maker. That's what's going to win us the Champions League, having a central midfielder who's going to do that on a regular basis. And we need to win the Champions League because both Thor and Lee have been promised a Champions League win this year, or they're going to leave. So it is quite important that we go and win it. Right, Flager's going to come on for Goff, as already discussed, and we're going to bring Diarra on for Mira. Alif's tired, so Candemil can come on for him. And you know what? I'm going to bring Augusto on for Thor as well. And we're going to make a whole bunch of changes with half an hour to go. Hervé and or Young will come on if needed, but I'm not desperate to get game time into them. I guess Hervé maybe for the last 15 minutes or so. In fact, Diarra's picked up a knock, so that makes my mind up for me because now Young has to come on for him. He can play as the inside forward on that side. And poor old Diarra can't catch a break. I spent the second half of last season talking about how when he gets games, he'll be awesome. I've sold the man who was in his way to make room for him, and now he's picked up an injury 20 minutes into his first match of the season. Young, back to Candemil. Of course, that does dictate whether or not we sell Young. If Diarra's properly injured, then Young has to stick around because we are a little bit light on options on that left-hand side if we lose Diarra as well. It's all going to backfire on me. I can see it now. A Camo's in and a Camo scores for Brighton. That's number one of the 14 he'll get this year because he scores 14 goals every season. No more, no less. And he'll stop playing at Christmas if he's got his 14 by then because that's what his job is. It is a nice finish from him. He has got that in him. He just didn't do it. Like I say, he didn't do it often enough. If he did that every match, the way Thor and Mira do, he'd still be playing for us. Mendes has had a fantastic game, though. May has had a fantastic game. Lots of positives to take out of that. And there you go. Another trophy for the cabinet. We do like to win the Charity Shield. Congratulations, lads. Enjoy your little party tonight. And now we just sit and wait to see if we get any offers for these remaining 3 players who are on the transfer list. We'll just check on Diarra as well. It's fine. He'll be ready for the first game of the season, hopefully. But now we do wait to see if offers come in, or if our business... I guess business might not even be done even if they don't, because the European transfer window doesn't end until the 1st of September. So the likes of Cristiano, particularly, who I think fancies a move to Spain. Atletico Madrid is his preferred destination. He could go 2 weeks into the season even. But I think one of them at least will go still, I hope. Costa, get out. Well, none of them left. No offers for any of them, despite interest in Ben Young being high, apparently. No offers come in for him. And after what we said was going to be a quiet transfer window, we've also made the biggest signing of the summer in the shape of Robert. Also, one of the biggest sales as well. It's been a very quiet transfer window for English football, really. I don't know if there's ever been a summer as quiet as that one. That's not showing all the transfer. Oh, it's August, that's why. Is there not a way to show it for the season? But £97 million is nothing, really. If we have a look at records, transfers, not most expensive. Yeah, most expensive fee paid. There's been plenty of times when it's been well over 100 million. Sometimes an insanely high transfer fee has been paid. But yeah, I think is that the first time? Oh no, we've done John Goff. We were the highest transfer fee as well. The second time we've been the most expensive transfer of the summer. Well, I guess that's that. There's, like I say, there's still the potential for some of them to leave. We didn't want him to go on loan. They didn't want to pay his wages. There's still a potential for them to leave elsewhere in Europe, which you'll find out in not tomorrow's episode, Monday's episode, I guess, because remember, no home video tomorrow. There is still a video tomorrow, just not a home video. But that is the final shape of the transfer window. One player in, one player, one youngster, one old man goalkeeper reserve. He's 25. He's not that old. And then the big headline departures are Beckart, Ciriello, Baron, which I think we can all agree are players our squad could definitely afford to lose. Guess we see how we get on this season now. If you've enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. And thank you very much for watching.